Viva Mexico! Or technically this one's the Viva Mexico 250. Anyways, yes, NASCAR is going to Mexico, where the Cup Series will have their first ever points race in Mexico, and the Xfinity Series will return to a track it hasn't been to in about 20 years. So today, we're going to talk about Mexico. We're going to look at the track details. We're going to talk about some of the history of NASCAR at road courses. We're going to look at some statistics. I'm talking normal road course statistics, new road course statistics, wet weather road course statistics. We're going to look at some odds, and we're going to make some predictions. So let's hear your predictions in the comments. We will be going to the Autodromo Hermanos Rodriguez, where they also have a numerous other number of motorsports. We see Formula One there. We see NASCAR's Mexico Series, which will also be racing this weekend. We see some other, as I said, Formula E. We've seen the Xfinity Series at this track before. In fact, Kyle Busch and Denny Hamlin are previous winners at this track. They are the only, I guess, active drivers who have won here in the form of NASCAR, obviously. But we've seen this track host a number of events. It's a big facility. It's a well-known facility. So here are the details of the track itself in terms of the racing. The traditional layout, the layout that F1 uses, is 2.67 miles, which is equivalent to 4.3 kilometers. However, NASCAR will be running an altered version where there's this little odd kind of section, which you're looking at right now. They are chopping that off, and they are going to just run a kind of a U-turn, a right-handed U-turn in a sense. That takes about 0.2 of a mile off of it. So it's a 2.43 mile track, which is equivalent to 3.91 kilometers. The track was built in 1959. It's got this layout, I should specify, has 15 turns. That long run down to turn 1 could prove to be chaotic. It has proven to be chaotic in F1. But it will also provide a lot of passing opportunities. So while the restarts, especially if there are late race restarts, it's going to provide chaos. It could very well provide just normal restart chaos. You know, the beginning of the race, start of stage 2, start of stage 3. Whenever, we could see a lot of chaos. Few chicanes in there. There's an opening chicane after that long front straightaway. Then, as I said, we go to that double right-handed turn into the S's. After the S's, there's a little bit of a straight that goes into a 90-degree right-handed turn, and that is when they enter the stadium section, the most iconic part of the track, where there's, I believe it's an old baseball stadium that is around the track. And then it's for the NASCAR cars, it's going to be a really odd section through there, just really tight, technical, slow, It's gonna be odd with the NASCAR cars, but it could provide some good passing opportunities. Then we return to the front stretch. Another major factor in this race is elevation. Great graphic provided by the CW. These are our NASCAR tracks. Right here. Here's our elevation. The highest we normally go to is Las Vegas, 1,980 feet above sea level. Well, then let's add in Mexico City. No one is close to Mexico City, more than 3 times higher than any other NASCAR track. So it's physically demanding on the drivers, but it's also physically demanding on the cars. In F1, they've talked about it a lot, about how it impacts the engine's capabilities, how the engine performs in certain different ways and whatnot. So that would be another factor. Will this not only impact the drivers and their physicality, but will it impact the engines in terms of, will one engine be better this weekend? Like, will one manufacturer be better than the other? And then on top of that, could we see some mechanical failures? Some engines expire because just the altitude somehow messes with them so much. I'm not a mechanic. I'm not an expert on the the little fine-tuning of the actual engine and car. I don't know what could happen, but could it impact the race? I think that's something we need to think about. Next up, we have to talk about the weather. Yes, the weather. It's supposed to rain this weekend in Mexico City. All 3 days, cars on track. That's right, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. So that's going to play a factor. As I said earlier, we're going to look at some wet weather statistics. But on the bright side, despite there being a lot of weather, it seems like every time we have a new track, there's weather. COTA, Chicago. Anyway, I'm going to get distracted here. But the bright side is we have extended practice due to it being a new track. Whenever there's a new track or a track has been heavily reconfigured, NASCAR allows the teams to have some extra practice time in order to learn the track, since literally no one has been there. So now that we know the track, we know the weather, we know some of the things that can impact this race, let's actually talk about the drivers. Let's talk about some numbers. As I said, we're going to talk about some statistics. I did some research, put together some road course stats for the drivers, but we looked specifically at the next gen era for the generic road course stats, but we also looked at some road course numbers in terms of new road courses over the past 6 or 7 years. NASCAR has added quite a few road courses to its schedule. We've run the Daytona road course. We've run Road America. We've run COTA, Chicago, a few others. So NASCAR now has this wide range of road courses that we have been to or continue to go to. So what happened when we went to a road course the first time? What do those numbers tell us? And then, as I said, it might rain this weekend. We're going to look at some rain statistics as well. Then we will get to the odds, and then we will make some picks. First things first, who has won on a road course in NASCAR in this field? We have 37 drivers entered into the race this weekend, and guess what? 16 of the drivers entered into the field this weekend have won on a road course in the NASCAR Cup Series. Those drivers are Ross Chastain, Kyle Larson. Kyle Larson has won 6, with 3 of those being next-gen wins. Kyle Busch has won 4 times on a road course, but never in the next-gen car. Chase Elliott has won the most out of anyone. He's won 7 times on the road course, but he has not won in the next-gen car. Denny Hamlin has a win. Blaney, AJ Allmendinger has 3 wins, 1 of those in the next-gen car. Chris Buescher, that's in the next-gen car. Christopher Bell has 3 road course wins, with 2 of those being in the next-gen car. Joey Logano's win was about 10 years ago at Watkins Glen. Byron has 2 road course wins, with both of those being in the next-gen car. Tyler Reddick has won 3 times, all of those being in the next-gen car. Bowman won last year at Chicago. McDowell won at Indianapolis in 2023. Shane van Gisbergen won the inaugural Chicago street race, and Daniel Suarez won at Sonoma in 2022. Now, out of those 16 winners, I pointed out who has won in the next-gen car and who hasn't. 11 of the names I just named have won in the next-gen car, with one of those being Daniel Suarez. Let's focus in on Daniel Suarez first of all. This is a big weekend for Daniel Suarez. There's a lot of pressure on him, obviously. He's a Mexican driver. He's driving in his home race for the first time. It's a big deal for him. It's been talked about for, well, ever since this race was announced. Daniel Suarez has had all the talk of NASCAR Mexico with him, as he should. He's the only Mexican driver in the field. It's a big deal for him. He's a Mexican NASCAR champion. He has won the Xfinity Series championship. He won a cup race. He's won 2 cup races now, and he's also in a contract year. So it's a lot of pressure on him from like every single different angle. The media, contract, like is he going to get to keep his ride? Like there's so much pressure on Daniel Suarez right now that, yeah, we'll see how he does. But let's look at his numbers. When we look at his next-gen NASCAR Cup Series numbers on the road courses, he has a win. As I said, that was at Sonoma in 2022. But his numbers are actually all over the place, to be honest with you. He hasn't scored a top 10 since he finished 3rd at the Indianapolis road course in 2023. Average finish of 20.4. Every single time he's finished in the top 10, though, it's been a top 5. The win at Sonoma, a 5th place at Road America in 2022, 5th place at Watkins Glen in that same year, and then the 3rd at the Indianapolis road course. But outside of that, 36th, 30th, 13th, 14th, 31, 33, 22. It's been a mixed bag, but he hasn't run as well since the beginning of the next-gen car. He ran really well in that first year, 2022, with all those top fives, but since then, a third at Indianapolis. We don't even go to that track anymore, and also his numbers are not great outside of that. But, hey, you never know. He could have a speed boost, and he's going to be the sentimental favorite this weekend. Now let's talk about who has the best average finish in the NASCAR Cup Series at the road courses. This may surprise some of you, but it's by almost 2 positions. It's Chris Buescher. Prosper, Texas's own Chris Buescher has the best average finish in the next-gen era at road courses with a whopping 8.7 average finish. Of course, he won at Watkins Glen last fall in thrilling fashion, but his worst finish was the first ever next-gen race at a road course. COTA 2022, he finished 21st. He has never finished worse. In fact, his next worst finish was at the Charlotte Roval last year when he finished 17th. When we go through his finishes, this is insane. Second, so this is after COTA, obviously. 2nd, 6th, 10th, 9th, 6th, 8th, 4th, 11th, 7, 7, 8, 3, 1, 17, 7. Chris Buescher, if that's not the model of consistency, I don't know what is. Chris Buescher on these road courses is elite. He may only have 1 win. I think he's only led 52 laps at the road courses in the next-gen era, but he is constantly in the top 10 at worst. At worst. And the numbers prove it. Like, it is insane how good Chris Buescher is on these road courses, and it doesn't matter where we go. Road America, COTA, Roval, Watkins Glen, Sonoma. You name the road course, Chris Buescher is going to run at worst top 10. He's going to get a few top 5s. He may even compete for the win like Sonoma 2022. Obviously, he ended up winning Watkins Glen 2024. Chris Buescher knows how to run these road courses. He will be a factor this weekend. Someone else we got to talk about, the heavy favorite in this race, Shane van Gisbergen. I believe last I checked, he was 325 to win. So SVG is obviously going to be favored at a lot of these road courses. He showed up. He won his first ever road course race in Chicago. Is a street race technically. I mashed Chicago in with the road courses, even though we've only had 2 races there, just to give us a little bit bigger of a sample size. But Shane van Gisbergen took the NASCAR world by storm, won that first Chicago race. And the expectation now in the Cup Series is when he shows up to a road course, he's going to be a factor for the win. Now, of course, the numbers back it up. His statistics at the road courses in NASCAR, even though it's only 7 starts, I believe, are fantastic. He had the win at Chicago in his first year. And the second year in Chicago, technically, he finished dead last. He finished 40th. But he won stage 1 in that race, and he got taken out on like lap 2 of stage 2, but he still finished 40th, so we had to factor that in. His average finish, I believe, let's see here, it says a 12.3. Once again, that's in 7 starts. But outside of that Chicago race when he was taken out, his worst finish was a 20th at the Circuit of the Americas in 2024. His finishes outside of that is a 10th in the Indy Road Course in 2023, a 2nd at Watkins Glen last year, a 7th at the Charlotte Roval, a race that he won the pole, led 21 laps, and a 6th place finish at COTA earlier this year in which he led 23 laps. So while the finishes, he may not have been competing for the win at the end of these races, they have shown the speed. He has shown the speed. He has led laps. He's won a pole. He's going to be a factor this weekend. And also, his average finish at new NASCAR road courses is 1. It's a sample size of 1, but statistically still accurate that he has an average finish of 1 at new road courses in the NASCAR Cup Series. The next guy we got to look at is Chase Elliott. We're going to talk about Chase Elliott a lot here in a minute. Chase Elliott has the 2nd best average finish in the Cup Series in the next-gen era on the road courses. There's been a lot of talk. Chase Elliott, he was only good at the road courses in the Gen 6 car when he won all 7 of his races in those last 3 or 4 years of that era. And yes, he may have won all of his road course races in that era. That is correct. But the numbers don't really support him being bad in the next-gen era road courses. He has an average finish of 10.2, and that is in 17 starts. He missed 1 race, 1 whole race back in 2023 at COTA due to the broken leg. He's led 147 laps. He still has scored numerous top 5s and top 10s. His worst finish is 32nd at Watkins Glen, in which they ran an aggressive fuel strategy and it went terribly wrong. They ran out of fuel, went multiple laps down. But outside of that, his worst finish is 20th at the Roval. Back in 2022, a race in which he dominated before getting dumped on a late race restart. So Elliot still is elite at road courses. I mean, when we go through his finishes here, 4th, 8th, 2nd, 16th, 4th, 20th, which that's that Roval race, 5th, 2nd, 32nd, we talked about that, 9th, 16th, 4th, 19th, 5th, 4th. Like, there's not a lot of bad outliers. There's not like a random 26th in there. So Elliot's still elite at the road courses. He still has shown that he can show up. However, he has not led laps at a road course since Sonoma 2024, and he only led 3 laps in that one. He hasn't led double-digit laps since the Roval of 2023, so we'll see how Elliot does. He did finish 4th at COTA earlier this year, though that was a chaotic race with him. Got dumped in turn 1, lap 1 by Raj Chastain. Had to run an aggressive tire strategy at the end of the race to get up to 4th, but we will see. We will see how they end up doing. Now let's talk about new road courses. When NASCAR has gone to new road courses over the years, as I said, the last one was, or the most far away one, I guess, oldest new one, however we want to phrase that, was the Roval back in 2018, the Charlotte Roval in which Ryan Blaney won. Then in 2020, NASCAR decided to go to the Daytona road course to make up for Watkins Glen during the whole COVID, and Chase Elliott won that one. Chase Elliott won a lot during this era, so he would also win the inaugural COTA race. He won the first ever Cup Series race at Road America, but at the Indianapolis road course, he did not win. AJ Allmendinger won the first ever race there. Then our next race is the one and only example we have of the next-gen car. That was a brand new road course that the Cup Series had never ran at, and SVG won that race. Now, the notable statistics I pulled out of this, Chase Elliott, dude, just obliterated everyone at every road course. His worst finish was 6th out of the 6 new road courses I just listed. Chase Elliott's worst finish was 6th. That was at the first one. At the Charlotte Roval in 2018, he finished 6th. Then he finished 4th at Indy. That was his second worst. Then 3rd at Chicago. Everything else was a win. So a whopping average finish at new road courses of 2.7. Literally averages a podium. And then another one. This stood out to me because I don't usually think of this guy as a road racer. He's only got 1 road course win in his career. It was 10 years ago. I think it was a fuel mileage race. Like, I don't think of Joey Logano as a road racer, but his rain numbers and his new road course numbers, 4 top 10s, 1 top 5 at new road courses. And remember, guys, Joey Logano, when it comes to a new track, he will show up. He won the first ever Bristol Dirt Race. He won the first ever race at Gateway. He won the first LA Coliseum race. When it's a new racetrack, Joey Logano, he's someone to bet on, I guess. So I would not be surprised to see him up front this week. And despite him not necessarily being the best road racer, he's one of the best NASCAR drivers. So we should see him somewhere in the top 10, probably at worst. Now let's talk about the rain races with a chance of rain at Mexico City. We got to talk about some rain, and we're going to look at some old rain races. The 2020 Charlotte Roval, 2021 COTA, which that's referring back to an old race, 2022 Watkins Glen, 2023 Chicago, and 2024 Chicago. So, the winners of those races, 2020 Charlotte Roval, stage 1 was wet. Outside of that, not a lot of rain. Chase Elliott ends up winning that race. 2021 COTA, that entire race was wet. Chase Elliott wins that race. 2023 Chicago, I think it was like an on-off kind of wet weather race, but for the most part, it was wet, if I remember correctly. SVG won that race. And then 2024, kind of an on-off again. In terms of the wet weather, it was rain-shortened. Alex Bowman won that race. Oh, yes, I forgot to mention 2022 Watkins Glen. Stage 1 was wet. Outside of that, it was dry, but Kyle Larson won that race. So that is our 5 wet weather races on the road courses. We're not including New Hampshire or Richmond from last year. Those are ovals. However, the significant statistics I pulled out of this one, Michael McDowell, 4 top 10s, 1 top 5. You got to remember, Michael McDowell, a strong, heavy road racing background in his career. I think he's raced at this track, actually, when he's done some other road racing in his career. So Michael McDowell We know he's strong on the road courses. He won at the Indianapolis road course in 2023 with Front Row. He's always been a contender on these road courses. Curious to how Spire is going to do this weekend. That's the biggest factor for me when we look at McDowell, is that a lot of McDowell's road course success was with Front Row. So we'll see what Spire turns up with this weekend. But McDowell is someone to keep an eye on when it comes to maybe a top 10 finisher, dare I say a top 5. And hey, he could very well compete for the win. And then once again, Joey Logano, when it comes to a new road course or a wet weather road course, hey, the numbers back him up. In 5 wet weather road courses, 4 top 10s, 3 top 5. So Joey Logano, wet weather road courses, he shows up. Now let's talk about some odds. For the Xfinity Series, if I had to guess, it'll more than likely probably be one of these guys in the top 5. Zilich, obviously, he would have dominated that race at COTA if he didn't have to come from the back in the middle of the race, but he ended up winning anyway, so I think Zilich, there's a reason he's the heavy favorite. Ty Gibbs is in a great car. Daniel Suarez is in a great car. Christopher Bell's in a Sam Hunt racing car, but I think he'll be a factor. And then Sam Mayer has won a bunch of road courses in his Xfinity career. I guess if we're looking at a long shot of Jeremy Clements, maybe. He's won at a road course before. That's kind of fun, I guess. But I wouldn't bet the house on it. Don't go crazy. Now, when we look at the Cup Series odds, as I said earlier, SVG a heavy favorite at plus 325. Then we see Kyle Larson. We haven't really talked about him. Larson at the road courses, as I said, 6 road course wins, 3 in the Next Gen Era, but it's an average finish of like 16th, I want to say. What did I write down here? Yeah, a 16.3. So Larson, while he's won on road courses a lot, he also, has some stinkers. He drives into the tires at Chicago. Larson is all over the place on these road courses. We see Christopher Bell up there. Chase Elliott's up there. Tyler Reddick, another great road course racer who we didn't really focus in on a lot, but he has the 3rd best average finish in the Next Gen Era, I believe. He's got 3 wins. William Byron, AJ Allmendinger, Kyle Busch. Kyle Busch is kind of a wild card, I would say, because his Next Gen numbers, overall, it's a 15.2 average finish. And you're looking at that, and you're like, oh, okay, that's kind of mid-pack. But we need to separate it. What do you mean separate it? Joe Gibbs Racing, RCR. Remember, he spent a year in the Next Gen Era at Joe Gibbs Racing. The Joe Gibbs Racing era for Kyle Busch was horrible. Awful. He had an average finish of 22.2 in 6 starts on the road courses. But then he goes to RCR. At RCR, he has an average finish of 11.7. He has 5 top 5s with RCR. He almost has as many top 5s at RCR on the road courses as he has starts at Joe Gibbs Racing in the Next Gen Era. And you got to remember, led the most laps at COTA in the spring, finished in the top 5, was a contender for that win. That's why I say a wild card. There's a reason he's not the favorite, but he's also not a long shot. So Kyle Busch is a wild card. He is someone to watch. You see Chris Buescher with that same odds line as well. Then when we look at some top 5, top 10s, obviously your favorites in terms of the top 10s, it's going to be such heavy favorites that is it even worth betting money? I guess if you win, then yeah, it's worth it. But anywho, if we're looking at value picks, if you want to call it that, I've been talking about Joey Logano this entire video, how good he does on new racetracks, new road courses, but also on wet weather road courses. He's plus 250 to score a top 10, plus 850 to score a top 5. So if you like those odds, there you go. Just thought I'd point that out. Alex Bowman's kind of another wild card. He's won at Chicago. He's run really well at COTA. He's had some other really good road course finishes, but he's plus 140 for a top 10. He's in Hendrick Motorsports Equipment. If you like that, go crazy. Now for some picks, I guess. We're to the pick segment of our video. So, if you were here on Monday, my Monday picks were Daniel Suarez in Xfinity, Daniel Suarez in Cup. I went with the heart. I made those picks. I'll stick with Daniel Suarez in Xfinity. As I said, I think the winner of that race will come from the top 5 in the odds, and Suarez is in there, so we'll stick with Suarez. The Cup Series, though. My heart says Daniel Suarez still. I'll probably end up sticking with him, but if we're listening to my head, if we're looking at the numbers, we're listening, it's an interesting call. when we've looked at the new road courses, when we've looked at the rain, there's a lot of factors. A lot of things can go wrong. A lot of things can go crazy. That long front stretch, a lot of things can go wrong this weekend. So we could see some good cars taken out. We could see some good drivers have some bad moments in the rain. Like, there's a lot of things to factor in here. I think we're going to see SVG up front. I think we're going to see Chase Elliott, Tyler Reddick, our normal guys up front. We could see a wild card up there. We could see, I don't know, McDowell up there potentially competing for the win if the conditions provide right. But I just feel like my head, after looking at all these numbers, after looking at how well he's done on the new road courses, on the rain road courses, and just how well of a road racer he is combined, my head says Chase Elliott. He's just run so well at the road courses. I almost feel like he's due to win a next-gen road race. He hasn't won a road race since 2021, but it almost just feels like he's due. There's been all this talk about Chase Elliott. Does he still have it? Blah, blah, blah. He's still sitting, fifth in the points, but just because he's not winning races, a lot of people are questioning him. Feels like this is a moment for him to show up, show what he's got. It's a road course, which is a type of track that he's elite at. The numbers still back him. So, hey, there you go. My head says Chase Elliott. My heart says Daniel Suarez for the Cup Series. So, a lot of nines, basically. So, thank you guys for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed. I hope you enjoyed the numbers. I like numbers. I like random statistics. So, obviously, we didn't have anything to base Mexico off of this weekend just because we've never been here before. So, I tried to pull some odd stats from different angles to try to give you guys a perspective on this thing. But thank you for watching this video. I know this was a long one, but hopefully you got some good information out of it. Long weekend at Mexico ahead. Tomorrow we got practice. Saturday is the Xfinity Racing Cup qualifying. I think Xfinity qualifies on Friday. Correct me if I'm wrong. And then the Cup race is on Sunday, and we will be here for all of it.